Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world as you tune in today into the channel of the expression of consciousness. We have this evening my friend Sofya and myself, Spencer David. And today we are going to be talking about soulless beings and NPCs within our matrix, within our world, within the reality we live in. So, Soph, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Today in the UK, it's very hot. It's been hot all over the weekend, so we're not used to it here, of course. So I'm trying to use my brain cells beyond the ones that are combusting. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It is hot. You're right. I've just had a nice relaxing day. Went and seen a friend, and I just had a little quick look into a video about soulless beings again, just to refresh my brain as well, because I am aware of it, and I come across the information a few months ago, so I had to just give myself a little jog, if you will.
Yeah.
So, soulless beings. What is your take on that?
My take is that they are beings that were created by the Matrix and not like souls that were created like from source.
Yeah,
So they're almost like a filler, like the ones in games, the characters that no one's playing with, but it makes the illusion look real and feel real,
yeah,
but yet they're not the same as us.
yeah, yeah. They are created through the matrix. They are a form of artificial intelligence created through the matrix, and it's beings such as like the archons and the reptilians and so on that are creating the illusion we live in, that put in these beings, these soulless entities, into our matrix, into our reality. The reason they exist is, one, through my understanding, my perspective is because there is a physical vessel, you know, energy can go in and attach to it and be used. So they know we are going to create children and so on, and they can instill the artificial intelligence, I guess, into the minds of the beings that are being born, because soulless beings can be born, and they exist because we create the energy, because we can't interact with them. We create them and bring them into our reality because of the energy and the focus we give them.
Yeah.
You see?
I've,
Go on.
I've noticed recently that I've, like you, I'd only heard of the even concept a few months ago.
Yeah.
But then I noticed recently a lot of the online spiritual community are mentioning it a lot. So
Yeah.
that's why when I mentioned it to you, I thought there must be a reason why it's significant at this moment in time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is to do with like the raising in consciousness. It was easy for them to hide in the 3D.
Yeah.
But it's the struggle is becoming the 5D because they can't raise to that.
No. Because they don't have a soul, they can't, if they are incarnated into this reality soulless, they can't ascend in this time frame. But over time they can, apparently, because the mental structure, the mind they have, because it's part of the matrix, it's a program, it's artificial intelligence, that their responses are automatic, robotic. They don't think outside the box, regardless of the information you give them, and you know, possibilities and voice of reason, they won't think outside the paradigm of the programming within their mind. So you can show them something quite specific and they will just have an automatic response. You could argue the whole thing about 9/11, for instance. Okay, planes are made from like an aluminium. They're very soft metal, and we know the damage that is created on a nose of a plane when a bird hits it. Now, if that creates such an impact, how do people feel that a plane can cut through solid reinforced steel and concrete, when in actual fact, when something like a bird can practically disintegrate the nose end of a plane? So if they hit something with force, and there are videos that show you when a plane hits a concrete wall, it doesn't go through the wall, it disintegrates to nothing. And if you're talking to a soulless being, they won't compute that.
True. Not at all. And they'll
Not
argue
everybody
even.
that doesn't agree with the 9/11 is soulless. Because remember, their perspective and the reality they live in and their belief structures, etc., is based on what they understand with the world they're living in. So just because they don't believe 9/11 could have been an inside job, okay, it doesn't mean they're soulless beings. You won't know a soulless being just by coming into contact with them for a brief moment, because obviously with their mental programming, they are orchestrated through the artificial intelligence to hold conversations and interact with this world, play a role. They will have jobs, they can have children. And so a soulless being could be in a relationship with a soul being, and that soul being may not know, and then they can have children and create a soul being. And because they've created a soul being, that soulless being then has the opportunity to ascend in consciousness and understanding because of the interaction and reality they're living in. And in time, they can become souls, but you would have to rewire all that programming within them. They can emulate and simulate emotion. Whether they know it's a simulation, they won't know, because again, it's part of the programming. You know, they just know it's a response that is needed for a specific situation. You can spot soulless beings, or or potentially spot soulless beings if you are witnessing a traumatic situation. For instance, someone's going to jump from a skyscraper or a high-rise building. Now, people with souls will interact with that situation with compassion and love. They will try and talk the person down. They will try and convince the person not to jump because the trauma it will cause, etc. Soulless beings could just potentially stand there and just not respond at all and wait for something to happen, or they could even say negative responses such as jump, because the matrix is put that program in their head to do stuff, because the matrix knows that the one that is potentially jumping is a soul being. And of course, a soul being is a threat to the matrix and artificial intelligence, because we are in a literal battle right now of light and dark and AI and human consciousness.
And
Soul
I think that's why the soulless being kind of program, which is what I see it as, like it's a program they created to run alongside everything else. I feel like that's why it's under threat, because this was the Great Awakening. And for people who have not awakened at all, who are still stuck in the same pattern, they've seen loads of evidence for different things, and it means nothing. They're still thinking the same. no spiritual advancement in them. It's making it obvious that they're the non-player characters. They're there because this year has been like forcibly awakening some people, but some people are just totally stuck, and it's making it more obvious. And it was said before all this happened that there would come a time when there'll be people who wouldn't be able to keep going, they wouldn't make it through the ascension
Yeah,
because the challenge to their preset programming, when the full disclosure comes out, they're not going to be able to cope. It will glitch them.
yeah,
And they said, look out for your own family, for your own friends. There's going to be people among them who
yeah,
are the soulless.
yeah. Yeah, you can have potentially soulless people in your family. I mean, through videos of what, I mean, I can't say this is truth, and I haven't had confirmation from the universe on this percentage, but from what I was watching before before we made this video, from the source of the universe where that author of that video is got that information from a Pleiadian guide, they are saying that it's soulless beings are about 1 in 5 of us.
Wow.
So we can be in a group of 4 and potentially 4 of them are soulless, potentially.
Wow.
But we wouldn't know until you really dive into some real deep ethics of things and start quizzing and questioning the reality they're in. And then you'd be able to get an understanding of their point of awareness, and through their automatic responses and level of ignorance, they could potentially be soulless.
I've seen it suggested that narcissists tend to be quite clear, soulless, but I'm not sure about that one. But it's one I've seen people say, because obviously psychologists would say narcissist is usually something from in childhood.
Yeah.
But so I don't know, but I suppose where people see the lack of empathy,
Yeah.
and maybe, you know, just a one set way of thinking.
Yeah.
And
Of
woe
course.
betide anyone who doesn't think like them.
Yeah. But from our understanding and perspective of things, this world we live in is not what we are told it is anyway. It's a holographic world. The reality we are in and the reality we exist in is created, one, through the collective consciousness of all of us, so that what we focus on, and the way that we are within us, is the reason the world is externally. So that's why there's so much chaos and frustration and bad in the world, because there's people full of emotional trauma that isn't healed, and we behave in a particular manner that creates this reality we are in collectively.
Yeah.
And people that can be burglars and do bad things, they can be part of the soulless matrix, the AI, and they're put there just purely to create suffering and to create the further illusion of the world we're living in, creating distraction. Because if there's constant trauma around you, you can't ascend consciously because you're distracted. You're in survival mode. You're doing other things other than focusing on your divine being.
Yeah.
And you can have soulless beings in your family.
Yeah, I suspect there's a few in mine.
How, for instance, how do you know if they're real? How do you know if they exist now? If I say to you, where is your brother, let's say, where is he?
I've said this point to my kids as well. Out of my perception, I can't say where someone is and if they even exist. In the time we're not interacting, it's just a guess to say, "Oh, he's at my mum's house," but is he? Because what I can see right now is my only reality right now. There's no other reality than right in my perception, which is a bit mind blowing. I think. Like,
Yeah, And the see with soul, if you've got a soul, if you've got beings that are souls around you, because they are living true entities, even though you don't give them energy and focus, they can still choose to come and interact into your reality. And that's why they become parts of your reality when you interact. Like now, me and you, we're talking through a computer. You're in your environment and I am in mine. You're in Birmingham, or your reality is Birmingham. My reality is in Coventry. What in between those two realities may be or may not be there. We don't know, because that's not part of our awareness. The four walls in this room is my awareness now, like you're saying about your family members. Now, if it's a soulless being, if you've got a soulless being in your family and you don't contact them, then that energy fades out of your reality and it don't become your reality. The reason you know your brother, your mum, your dad, etc., and all our loved ones and friends exist is because they exist within the mind. They exist within memory. And when they exist, and the time they exist in our reality is when we physically, verbally, mentally, etc., interact with them and bring them into our reality. Because everything is energy. You know, we, like you say, we can guess where people are, but are they truly there? And is that really happening?
Yeah, because everything is perception within our own mind. And the world is within, not without. One of my sons said to me the other week, in that case, if the world is only in my mind, he said, when we're having this conversation, am I in your head or are you in mine?
But there is only one.
Yeah.
We remember there is only one soul. That the source, the soul of source, and then over time we've broken down and faceted into individual souls, but we are reflections and so on of each other, and we are all aspects of the soul that needs learning and understanding. And over time, in some point, we all go back to that oneness, because we're all connected to that divine source. We're all connected to consciousness. We are all consciousness. Consciousness is light code. We are filled with light code, and that light code is what keeps you aware and alive, because consciousness is light code. It's frequency. It's a source of power that has intelligence of its own. An intelligence that goes way beyond the human concept of what the human mind can truly understand, because consciousness created everything. Now everything is energy, we know that. Okay, now we have a physical dimension, this one, and it's because what we say in the other video is because we contain atoms, but we still have an etherical body within us. And that's the energy that is eternal and where all the reality comes from, through the soul's awareness. As within, as without.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the question, if you're not in the woods and a tree falls, does the tree make a sound? How do you know if it does or not? You're going to say, yes, of course it does. But how do you know that if you're not there?
The sound can only be a sound if it's perceived by someone. If someone doesn't, if an auditory organ doesn't pick up the vibration of it and turn it into a sound, then you could argue it didn't make a sound because there was nothing there to pick up the sound.
Nothing become aware of it. So yeah, soulless beings will be in your reality because we put them there, and because the focus we give them, it keeps them existing. You could be walking down your street and you can randomly bump into a random person. Now they could be soulless, but the reason they exist is because you've allowed them to come into your reality and they accept you, and you talk to them. Now you may see them come into your reality because they may take the same route past your house all the time, because that's part of their programming, that's part of their matrix. you know, their reality is walking down your street to get to their job where they work, for instance, for the Matrix.
Have you ever had thoughts when people cross you on the street, like the people you're never going to see again, and you think to yourself, like, what, like their lives, what's their life like? So like, it's hard to even explain, but you know, you have these momentary passes with people, and
Yeah,
you think, like, is that meant something and nothing? And then sometimes you turn around and they're not there.
yeah,
And you think, was that just a moment to make the street scene look normal?
yeah.
Because now no one's there and there was nowhere for them to turn off. And I don't know, it's probably more phenomena.
What it could be, that it could be multiple reasons what you're experiencing. The multiple possibilities of what you're experiencing, rather. Something could walk past you and it could seem very lifelike and human-like. Now, you're either seeing somebody that is a truly human being, and they are part of the reality in the matrix you're in. They could be soulless, and they're in part of their programming, or it could even be a spirit, a soul, you know, that is just passing through the reality. Because when you turn to look, if they're still there and they're gone, they clearly can't be a physical entity, a human soul being.
Yeah.
Because a human soul being has got to fully act out all its reality, so to speak. We can't just vanish off the face of the planet just because your awareness turns away from me.
Yeah.
You know, I only disappear from your awareness when you're not looking at me, but I'm in my awareness and my reality in the same environment as you outside, and you become aware of me again if you look at me. But I'm not going to disappear from your reality, because we're part of the collective consciousness, the collective reality.
I would say that life's a bit like a cartoon, isn't it? That the characters are only there when they're drawn into the scene, and when
Yeah,
they're not drawn, they're not there at all. And I feel like that is the way life is, really. If the characters are not drawn, they don't exist till they're placed in a scene again.
yeah, yeah. What happens, let's say for instance, you've got a member in your family and they never contact you again, and you never contact them. What happens to them? Do they carry on existing in their reality, or do they disperse and go to something else because you're not giving it energy? You're not interacting with it or that person.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it feels like sometimes like a total soul tie, a cord just cuts, and you have no energy connection with the people again. It's like they don't exist.
You've outgrown the awareness. You that soul, that being, whatever it was there for, was there to suit the purpose of the soul's expansion and growth in that moment you met them, and in moments you met them for however long period of time that relationship is you have with them, being a friend, etc. Not relationship as such, but you know what your relationship and your role together is.
Yeah.
So yeah, the soulless beings are part of our reality due to the level of focus and input we give them. Soulless beings are not the only beings we have within this dimension, within our reality, because we also have hybrids. We also have like clones, you know, and they are also part of the matrix. And that sinister element that is trying to delude us from us finding our truth, what the truth is of why we are here. They have roles to play as well.
I find clones like really like chilling.
Yeah.
Because I was watching something on YouTube the other week, and then my son was discussing clones with me afterwards, and he said, "Imagine if I was just a clone of me, just sitting here." And the thought of it sent a chill through me that someone could be sitting there and they'd be my child, look like my child, but they wouldn't have their energy. They'd just be like a empty version.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you worry what the capability of someone that hasn't got a soul is, because
Yeah.
our soul is what usually gives us some form of moral compass for what
Yeah.
we would and wouldn't do to people. I think this
Yeah.
is why people suggest, like, you know, that a lot of them police brutality videos you see, that them police, a lot of them are NPCs because they don't seem to have any type of compassion. They don't seem to be able to act outside of whatever it is that they're set to do in their head.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, when you are a soul, you have your awareness, and like you say, you have your moral compass, and you can distinguish right from wrong. But remember, because you are a soul, it's your thoughts, you have your own divine consciousness, your own divine awareness, whereas a soulless being doesn't. It's a program. So because you are a soul and you are created by the divine source, you have an intelligence within your mind, and that allows you to determine right from wrong from things. That's why you see something happen in your reality and you don't like it, you object to it, and you argue against it because you know it's morally wrong.
Yeah.
Pedophiles, for instance, you know, people completely ignore the whole problem we have with pedophilia in this world without even going all conspiracy on it. We
They're
do
just a
have a
standard
major problem
problem.
with pedophilia in this world. There is a
Major,
major
major.
sex trafficking problem. And to be honest, if you've got a human soul, I don't know how you can abuse a child.
It's beyond me. It's beyond me.
And potentially, think you could potentially say those that are the majority of those that are abusing children around the world are soulless beings. They're programmed for the satanics, for that those elites that control our world. They create those beings, soulless beings, to do their dirty work of abusing children constantly, because they know the soulless beings won't have like a karmic energy attachment to them.
Yeah. Because the people who are controlling the soulless do not care about humanity as humanity. Where our consciousness is just food to them. It's like they feed off our consciousness, but they don't care about us at all. They don't torturing humanity and stuff is nothing to them.
Yeah, that's right. You know, they are in your awareness because you allow them to be there. You know, like when I was saying about family, if you've got a soulless member in your family and you never contact them again, what happens to them? I mean, I said that earlier. And do they continue existing? Because they're in their reality.
It's literally funny because family members that I no longer speak to, I don't even bump into them. I'm like,
Yeah.
like
And
it's like
I
they're just gone.
understand the same. I understand that because I don't. Now I know there's friends, there's families on my Facebook, and I occasionally see them interact. But now Facebook only limits you to seeing 25 people. So unless again you go onto that person's profile and give it energy to bring
Yeah,
into your reality, then they become real. But if you didn't go onto their profile, you still wouldn't know if they are existing in the reality or not.
yeah.
Even though someone is saying to you, I bumped into such and such, that's their reality, not yours.
Yeah.
I know it's a head mess.
Uh, this is why it's so hard for children when parents want them to learn from their mistakes. And they can't, because you have to have had something as part of your reality for your mind to file it. It has to have an emotion attached to it too, what happened at the time. So you can't learn from someone else's mistakes per se. You can gain a greater awareness and maybe be more careful, but you've got to really experience things for them to be part of your perception.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to experience it or be part of the experience.
Yeah.
For instance, you could have family members that are in violently abusive relationships, or we know people that are in violent abusive relationships, and the children witness that trauma, then that's going to have an effect.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, they that when they see that experience, they could do one of two things. They either copy what those loved ones and role models have done to one another, and they do it when they're older, or they use their moral compass and go, I don't like what I saw, I won't act that way. And then they've learned from somebody else's mistakes, because a wise person will learn from somebody else's mistakes, because they will watch and observe and then make an assumption afterwards, or, you know, a realization.
There'd have been their emotions will have been attached to the situation as well, but having lived in the household, so it's like there's a active awareness.
Yeah, of course.
I do think that basically from my own intuition and from talking to you and talking to other intuitors and seeing what other intuitors are saying, we're coming up to a time, obviously we know at the moment the veil between the worlds is thinner. So there's a lot more phenomenon, as we've discussed in another video before. But yeah. I think there's people who follow like, you know, like extraterrestrial activity and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's been a massive increase in that. So I think the reason why this soulless thing is coming up so much now is because soon it's almost like we'll almost be classifying ourselves in our categories. And the soulless won't really have a category.
Yeah. There are ETs. I can't remember the race off the top of my head right now, but there are races of ETs, higher dimensional beings, that don't have souls. Why, I don't know, but they've obviously at some point had a soul, because they've ascended, or for whatever reason they don't have one now. But I've looked into stuff, and there are ET species that don't have souls. But then there are those that do, like I would Pleiades and stuff, those from Sirius A, those that are helping the planet, the Council of Five, those beings that help the Council of Five and part of the Council of Five, they will have souls, they will have high awareness, a high understanding. And that's why they are like or part of the overseers of our planet. You know, because, you know, everything, like we keep saying, everything is energy. Now, going back to being everything energy, when you walk down the street and you see a person, when you first look at them, because you're using potentially you use your physical sight, how your eyes interpret the information in your 3D matrix, you see a person and they will look human, and you won't know if they're soul or soulless. When we come to a new understanding and awareness through our conscious growth and spiritual growth, development, tuning with energies, meditating and expanding our awareness, we can come into situations where we can meet someone or walk past someone and we see their true, authentic soul self. For instance, last year I had a really strange experience where I was walking down the street and I noticed someone was walking towards me, and there was light. This was like 11:30 at night, and there was a light glaring behind the person. I could just see the legs at first from the distance. And then as they started to walk towards me, I realized at first, well, oh, it's a female, because they were very slendered.
Mm.
And then when they walked past me, which have only been about, 12 inches, 2 foot away at max, when I quickly looked at them, they looked like a grey.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't anybody dressed up in a mask or anything, because the neck of the person that walked past me was very, very thin.
Yeah.
And their arms were very, very thin. And I only walked past them for a few seconds, and when I looked, they had vanished. And there was 2 choices for them, for that person to go, either into one of the houses where I was walking past, which they didn't do because I would have heard the key go in the door, etc., or cross the road to the petrol station that is well lit up, and they never went there either. There was no side street in the part of the section where I was walking.
Yeah.
So they just vanished. Now, that only happened to me for a moment. It's only happened once, where I have seen someone's soul, authentic self, what they truly are. But generally, if you're not part of that awareness and you don't know that aliens are in our existence and awareness, or believe they are, then you won't know that. You won't experience it because it's not in your awareness. It's not in your programming.
That makes sense.
That's why some people see spirit and some don't. Because those that see spirit they want it to be in their awareness. They're allowing it to be in their awareness. So their mind is activating it. Their mind is opening up to that possibility in reality of communicating with spirit. And that's why we have the experiences we do. And that's why we can communicate with ETs and stuff, because we allow them to come into our awareness. And then they become part of our reality.
What an unusual universe. I've been watching a guy on YouTube. What's it? His name David something. I don't know if it's not Wilkes, but he does. Is it? He talks about extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
So him and other people who were like taken from here and put on the space stations and stuff for 20 years, and then they come back, and it's been one day here but 20 years there. They all say the same thing, basically, that there's been a battle going on, the galactic one, for probably the last 50-something years. But now it's time for humanity to become involved. They've been stopping certain ones from getting to us.
Yeah.
But it's coming to the time now where humanity will be taking their role to help from our side. There's the ones who have been fighting to maintain balance for like the universe and for Earth and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like I was watching more about that on the weekend. I was like, wow, that's quite deep.
You know, the famous medium Edgar Casey, one of his quotes is, there is going to come a time where the people of the earth are going to communicate with the people of the universe. And that is going on now.
Yeah.
You know, whether people believe in ETs or not, they're allowed to have their opinion. It's totally acceptable. But there are lots of people coming forward now and talking and explaining their experiences with these beings, you know, with star seeds and the Pleiadians and stuff. People are having all these experiences.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody can be making that up.
No, not when people's things correlate as well and evidence crosses over.
Yeah.
You know, like in intricate detail, some of these people, they've had experts interview them separately from different places who have been to these stations and talked about what it is to be there, and they can describe same places, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what I got from listening to things the other day is that there's a kind of suggestion that people who have the ability to communicate with extraterrestrials, which would be not every psychic or whatever, but there will be many with an open mind to it who could. It's maybe a good time to start opening up to more channeling to
Yeah.
hear what they want to say for as they move forward
Yeah.
before we get a false flag event come up, I suppose.
Yeah. You know, the reason not all, well, psychics won't communicate with spirit or ETs because they're working psychic. They're working with the energy of the human body. But mediums, you know, that are communicating with spirit and source, they can communicate with ETs. Again, if they allow it to come into their awareness, they have got to meditate and search for that possibility of truth being a truth. Now, I say possibility because obviously some people don't believe in ETs, but it's my truth because I've had ETs come to me in meditations, you know. I've
I had
had
one just
Greys
come.
come to me in meditations.
I
Now,
had one
not
come to
all,
me the other week as well.
sorry?
I had one come the other week. I was talking to my son, and suddenly, like, my voice just started changing, and I was saying things that weren't from me. But I was like, "Wow, like, what's this?" And it turned out obviously it was like a ET.
Yeah,
It wasn't scary. I
no,
didn't feel any dread. So maybe it was to show me that I could do it if I wanted to.
yeah, yeah.
But
You see,
I'd
remember,
have to make effort.
because the ETs that what we want to talk to, they are in higher dimensions. So you're talking like sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10 dimension upwards. So in order for you to communicate to that, you've got to allow you've got to raise your consciousness through meditation and development into 5th D at least to get to the 7th D, like we've talked about in other videos, that you can work within the realms of around 2 or 3 dimensions above and below. And so if you're 5th dimensional consciously now in this reality, you can talk up to like 7th or 8th dimension or maybe higher, but I'm sure it's around 2 or 3 dimensions above that we can access if you're in the 5th.
What if you was an advanced spirit? Because they reckon now on the planet now there are spirits who didn't have to come back, who were far advanced, but they came back for this moment in time.
Yeah.
Even if the vessel that they're in is not fully aware of their level, I bet if they pushed, they could connect like up to the 10, couldn't they?
Yeah, of course, because it's, you know, you'll get from what the level of input you put in, the energy you put in. If you can't, you know, you sit regular and working with the universe and talking to the galactic councils and so on, and asking for these higher dimensional beings to come in. But you've got to be aware, though, there's a very big difference between working with the spirit world and working with ETs, because they're two different realities, or
Yeah, very much so.
they're different matrices, they're different systems. You can communicate to the spirit world, okay, and you can talk to people's loved ones, guides, and obviously you can talk to demons and lower entities. The same applies for the universe. You can go to the universe, except you wouldn't class them as demons. You would class them as malevolent entities. Which one's the bad one? Is it malevolent or malevolent? I'll never get them muddled up.
Malevolent, the M1.
Yeah, malevolent. Now, so when you work with spirit or the universe, you should invoke unconditional love and protection and truth around you, and you know, and work from there. When you work with the universe and you're wanting to work with the spirit, with higher dimensionals, you've really got your work cut out, and you've got to make sure you are protected, because they are far more advanced than the entities you're dealing with in the spirit world. Because if you're talking to loved ones that are in the 4th or 5th dimension, and then one minute you're talking to a being that's 9th dimension, they are clearly having a much greater awareness than the 4th dimensional being, because they're in a greater awareness, they're in a different level, and they have a greater understanding. So if you're not working in love and light, those bad species can influence you and deceive you and delude you. So that's why you've got to make sure you protect yourself. When I started communicating with the universe and ETs, when I met my star family, my female guide that is from a planet Orion, she made a contact with me, and then she made me, when I communicate with the universe now through that, she activates a diamond in my crown, and I have to chant, I am God, I am love. I am God, I am light, I am unconditional love, I am truth. And I have to like chant that as I'm going through the dimensions. So I'm creating that energy around me that I am God, I am light, I am love, I am truth. And you obviously you can say I am a follower of universal law, because that is also paramount when you are working with spirit and the universe, or the spiritual universe, because that then covers the whole. You know, your intentions have got to be pure.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's a time when it's important for people to know, to start to get to know what their intentions are, because we're going to be called to task soon. And why are you here? Like, are you here for the betterment of humanity? Because that's the only thing they're going to want now.
yeah,
Because we need, if the world is going to, the universe is going to be on the right timeline, there has to be a timeline that is powered by love and not by greed and jealousy and anger and hate.
yeah. Well, all those things are the 3D.
Yeah, and we can't take them with us.
No, all those things, the greed, materialism, the ego, selfishness, that's all 3D programming. 5D consciousness isn't like that, because you are an awareness of oneness. You know you are one with nature, you know you are one with people you meet, and you focus those you greet and meet with unconditional love and respect. So yeah, so that's soulless beings and how they are part of our reality. And and obviously we are aware of hybrids, and there are humans as well that are alien species that look human. But you wouldn't know that until you tune in again to that soul authentic self of that being. And the only way you're going to be able to experience that is through working on yourself. And now is the time more than ever to work on yourself, because the world is going through such a dramatic change, consciously, vibrationally, frequency, everything like that. It's all raising. The veil between this world and the next is thinning, and it is affecting a lot of people, because a lot of people right now are dealing with the dark night of the soul. And just quickly about the soulless beings, that's how you would know if you're soulless or not, or you would know if people are soulless or not. If you have a soul and I say to you, you're soulless, because you are created by divine source, you're created by the divine source, and you have a soul, it will make you feel panicked. You will feel something in you that doesn't sit right, because it's your soul telling you that that's untrue, because you do have a soul. But if you approach a soulless being like that and say you don't have a soul, they will say, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Because one, it's not part of their programming, because they're not programmed to think, well, do I have a soul? Because they're not programmed to think whether they have one or not.
No.
Because they're not part of that consciousness.
Yeah.
You know? So again, that's how people know if they're soulless or not. Or you can find out if someone is soulless or not. But right now is the most poignant time to meditate, talk to the universe, find out where your soul wants you to go and what it is you're supposed to be doing now, because the world is going through a major change. We are leaving the 3D reality, this governmental, narcissistic, psychopathic control we're under. And over the next coming years, as we go into the golden age in 2023 and beyond, we will be going into that more of a 5D reality. I think there's still going to be a duality on this earth. There are still going to be people in the reality of the 3D, and there's going to be people that will break away from this society we're in, and we will be part of the 5D soul collective. And we'll be living off the land and so on, I feel.
That's what a lot of people are calling it New Earth, aren't they? Like a lot of the spiritual people to say it's going to be like almost like a reset.
Yeah, it's definitely a reset.
Yeah, we'll have ancient technologies that were more advanced than some of the things we think we've got now. But some of the things we've got now that are damaging to humanity won't be there.
The most crucial thing right now is getting yourself out of fear.
Yeah.
Meditating, raising your consciousness, listen to as much positive affirmations as you can. Say positive affirmations to yourself as much as you can, because the way the world is at the minute, this lockdown around the world, in Australia and everywhere else, it's total chaos. It's affecting us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, vibrationally, and on a frequency level. All this negativity that's going in the world is pulling our vibration down. It's affecting our health, our mental state. So right now it's really important that people start focusing on positivity. Do things that bring fire into your soul. Start playing music or start doing art. Fill things with your spare time that give your soul a reason to live. You know, embrace every moment.
You need to make your soul
Don't
light.
ignore what's going on as much as possible. Turn off your TV, turn off the media, because that is just fear porn. If you step out of the fear, the reality of that, the thought process of fear, and you raise yourself beyond that, we become clearer. And obviously the body changes, the frequency within the body changes, the way you feel changes, your heart rate slows down. It's not erratic, it's calmer. It's good for the immune system. If you're in a constant state of fear and being frightened and worried, your immune system is under total attack, constant attack. And it's constantly attacking your overall electromagnetic field of the physical body, which has effect on your mind, your brain, and all your working organs. So meditate, sit in your heart space, invoke unconditional love around you, play music that lifts your soul, be around like-minded people. Don't be around people that criticize you, run you down. Cut them people off, as much as you can, if possible. If they're part of your family and you've got to keep them in your life, so be it. But, if they're going to criticize you and run you down and belittle you, just have the contacts you need, if you will, with them. If you have
and just protect yourself when you do interact with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's all very, most of the things about life is keeping your spirit light. Even the afterlife, keep your spirit light. And sometimes when we're tired and we're really, really tired, it's nothing to do with our physical body. Our spirit's heavy, it's laden down with all the things. If anyone's following the Pizzagate and the paedophile things, that stuff gets your soul heavy after a while. And
Yeah,
you have to cleanse yourself, have a cleansing bath with bath salts, have a shower, ask the water to consciousness to flow any dark energy away, any heaviness,
yeah,
ask it to transmute that energy as it sees fit, and then fill the space with love and fill your energy back up, get your spirit back light, keep yourself as light as possible because what they're trying to do is weigh us down like a lead balloon.
yes,
And if you can get yourself light, which just keep cleansing your aura, use incense, sage, Palo Santo. You can just use intention, push light out through into your aura, but just make sure you're tending to your soul.
yeah,
And if you tend to you, then if we're all doing that, that's the collective taken care of. You don't, no more, don't panic now over who's not awake, because as we've talked today about NPCs, there's a good chance there's a lot of people around you who are not going to awaken now.
yeah,
So now it's time to concentrate on yourself. And like you said, the connections with people, like-minded people,
yeah,
that's important as well. So we can all kind of like feel a sense of not being alone in this. And just keep yourself light, keep yourself in a good vibration, because by golly are they trying to make sure that we're not in a good vibration.
yeah. Me and myself and Sophie are going to start setting up online Zoom groups to help people develop spiritually, set up meditation groups to help you connect with your guides, learning to communicate with the spirit world, and opening you up on a conscious level to give you understanding of who you are and what you are, and to guide you spiritually. So to help you heal, help you work on the shadow side, facing your fears and your demons and letting all that go, coming to realizations about things, coming to realizations why we behave a certain way. So me and Sophie are going to start looking into these things,
Yeah.
and start setting up groups, and you'll be able to find us through Facebook with these groups, and eventually a new website is going to be done as well.
Yeah.
So bear with us, and when it's up and running, we will let you all know.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Our current Facebook group is The Collective Consciousness. It's got a blue sign with the writing on, but in case there's other ones called it on there. Don't know. But we have a nice time, and then me and Spencer do lives. People have nice chats in there. It's a nice atmosphere. It's quite a new group, so there's still like room for molding it how we want it to go. But it's a online safe space,
Yeah,
and from there we'll grow. Like you said, the classes we'll do with people and the guidance, like coaching that people to get to know who they are, which
yeah,
is very important right now.
yeah, yeah. It's paramountly important building that network of souls, like-mindedness. Light workers now have got to come together more than ever, because we need to stand up.
Yeah. This is
And
a
we need
physical
to,
thing. It's not just spiritual. No, this is we came here physically. We can't meditate this collective reality away.
no, it's not going to go away like that.
No.
We have to want change. You know, in order for things to manifest, we have to put in action.
Yeah.
And sometimes people find that quite difficult, you know, for making things manifest, that they've got to put the action in to do it, to put any, because action is energy as well. It's vibration, you know, it's force. So we are, you know, the Facebook group, the Collective Consciousness, we do lives on there, and we guided meditations, to help you heal, like through the heart space, connecting with your guide. So we do stuff as well through there. And it is a place for people to communicate, share ideas, and raise questions, and you know, to find out more.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, because just like everyone else, we are still learning. We learn from each other, and we learn from everyone else, and we learn from people who are drawn to us to teach them. We learn from them as well.
Yeah.
It's a forever learning process, and it's the reciprocity in it. It's amazing, and that's why light workers need to all stand up now, so we can spread energy throughout each other, so there's nobody depleting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If we start raising the energy up and getting it going lovely through everyone, we'll be unstoppable, and that's what we want.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about doing another a guided meditation on the group in the collective consciousness group for healing the planet again. Getting people in the group to go through healing the planet, because remember, when we meditate, it lifts the vibration of the planet. It does have an effect on the reality that's around you. And there is proof of that. It's called noetic science, where the energy that we generate that goes into the atmosphere, into the energy environment we're in, it has an effect on the environment. They've done studies where people have meditated, large groups of people meditated, and it lowered crime rate and things in that space of time in that area where they were meditating. So if we all meditate and raise our own frequencies within ourselves, get ourselves out of the state of fear, we are raising the consciousness of the planet. We are raising the vibration and frequency of the planet. And if the more of us do that, then collectively we change the reality we are in. Because remember, everything is energy, everything is thoughts. Everything that exists now, everything that is being invented has already been invented before. Nothing is new, because we are so old. We've recycled ourselves so many times on this planet. The technology we have today is not the first time all this has existed, because all the thoughts that man was given to create this amazing technology and kit we have, it's been manifested before. And that's what it does. It keeps coming back, but over time it obviously improves, because consciousness and the awareness of where those thoughts are coming from is improving as well over time. So the more we meditate, the more we raise our frequency, the more we communicate with like-mindedness, we are going to change this planet collectively. If we all start thinking loving thoughts and taking action in changing this planet, being more loving and compassionate towards each other is the best start of changing this world. We have to live in this world together as a collective. If we stick together, we take care of each other, we give each other love, and we speak with compassion and understanding with each other, we will get through this collectively. Let's just be kind with each other, because the person we meet in the street or in the shop, we don't know the path they've walked. We can't judge them. You haven't walked 1,000 miles in their shoes. You don't know what they've gone through. Somebody could have died that day. You know, anything could have happened.
I think the biggest message from what you're really saying, Spencer, which is something that any of us who claim to be any type of spiritual shouldn't be doing anyway, is judging. Judgment is low vibrational, especially when it's judgment to criticize or to disrespect someone. If anything we do that's caught up is powered by one of these distractions at the moment, isn't going to help. Shamans say energy flows where attention goes. So anything we give our attention to, we're giving it more and more and more, like traction. Now, COVID-19 needs to it needs to have all the air taken out of it now, because it's
Yeah,
been a great distraction for 2020. That's just my opinion. And I
yeah,
know it's the opinion of some other people. There's been other distractions that need to just be filed as distractions, and we need to concentrate on the upgrading of humanity, the upgrading of Gaia. And there are some things that do need sorting, like the paedophilia thing, but that's something that needed sorting anyway.
yeah,
So that can still be sorted while still making sure that your eyes are on the prize.
yeah. It's always been there. It's just
Yeah.
we're more aware of it now because we
They want
have
us
the
to be more
internet.
aware of it now. But they wanted it this year for it to be a big thing now. Because
Because
Pizzagate came out in 2016, but now it's a big thing in 2020, another election year.
yeah, plus the year 2020 is the year of clear vision, clarity, 2020 vision. So
Yeah,
people are going to be seeing more. Remember, this is your first eye, not your third eye. When we tune in to the world we in, when we tune into the frequency of the world we in, we would tapping into this eye, which is really the first eye, which we call the third eye. But if we started to use this more rather than these, we would see things a lot different.
yeah,
So I feel on that note, we'll leave it there.
yeah.
Okay. But thank you all for joining us this evening. And please take my love, my light, my blessings. And, you know, take care of yourselves. Be kind, be loving, and just watch out for each other right now.
Yeah. Namaste, brothers and sisters.
And I will see you soon, Soph. Much love.
Try a bit.
Ta-ra a bit.